Welcome everybody to the 41st class in this Bhagavad Gita study series. So today we will summarize the 8th chapter called Akshara Brahma Yoga using this question answer format which we call points to ponder. So please have the questions and the answers ready from the website. So they're both there. So keep it handy. First question. The entire 8th chapter is an explanation of two shlokas from the 7th chapter. What are these two shlokas? These shlokas are also called the bija shlokas or the seed shlokas. Can somebody say what these two shlokas are? You can look at the answers and say. Anybody? All you have to do is to open the answers. So I'll tell. It is 7.29 and 7.30. 7.29 is a very beautiful shloka. Jara marana mokshaya ma shritya yatanti ye te brahma tatvidu kritsnam adhyatmam karma chakilam. Taking refuge in me, those who strive for freedom from death and decay, they know that Brahman completely, the self completely, and also karma completely. Then Sadi Bhutadi Daivam Mam Sadi Yajnam Cha Ye Viduhu Prayana Kale Picha Mam Te Vidur Yukta Chetasaha. Those with a disciplined mind who know me along with Adi Bhuta, Adi Daivam, Adi Yajnam, even at the time of death, they indeed know me. So the 6 terms Krishna is introducing, and then he's introducing the concept of remembering me at the time of death. So this is what the entire chapter is about. Okay, so we'll go back to the questions. What are the 6 technical terms introduced by Krishna in these 2 Bija shlokas, and what do they mean? And what do they mean? Anybody wants to give it a shot?
So, is it? I saw that. Look at slide 20, right? You said.
Yeah.
So, Brahman and Adhyatmam.
Yeah.
Karma,
Adhyatmam. Yeah.
Adhyatmam, Karmam, Adibhutam, Adidhaivam, and Adiyajna.
Yes. So, and Krishna is giving, why is Krishna doing this? So he's trying to get Arjuna to the point that these are all the constituents of a human being. So he wants Arjuna to be alerted to this fact. Brahman and Adhyatmam, primarily, they are the macro and micro viewpoints of consciousness. In the macro viewpoint, it's called Brahman, and Adhyatman, same as Atman, it is the micro point um, within the body. So in the context of inner space, you call it Atma. Outer space, you call it Brahman, universal outer space beyond earth. So that is what it is. Then karma, he defines karma as previous activity that results in our current body. So that's how Bhagavan describes karma. So if you see, Bhuta bhavot udbhava karaha visarga karma samyitaha. Bhuta bhava, the eggs for the beings to be created, bhavaha, so for them production of the bhutas, the beings, udbhavat for the production, visarga karma sanyataha. So this deliberate action is called know that to be karma. So that's how Bhagavan defines. Then adibhutam, any object that you experience is perishable and it's called adibhutam. It is the prakriti, bhuta, all the beings any object. Adibhutam, these are all perishable. That's the Prakriti. And then Adidhaivam. Adidhaivam refers to the total consciousness in the universe. And Adi Yajna. So here, Adi Yajna, it's the ancient Yajna. It is nothing but Ishvara. So that's a tricky term that Bhagavan uses. So there are 6 terms: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So apart from the 6 technical terms, Krishna also introduces a certain concept in these 2 shlokas. What is that concept? I just told it now. Anybody?
So at the time of death, if you remember me,
Yeah,
then you will be part of my nature and that you'll get the
correct.
support.
Yeah. Antakale cha mam eva smaran ukva kale param yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayam. He says there's no doubt in this. At the time of death, whoever leaves giving up the body, remembering me alone, that person attains my nature. In this, there is no doubt, Bhagavan says. So, and why is the 8th chapter called Akshara Brahma Yoga? What do you think would be a better name for this chapter?
I think because Lord Krishna starts with uh, some term starting with Akshara. I can't remember it clearly.
Yeah,
And
so if
then
you go to slide 17, you will find that shloka. So that's correct. Because Krishna's teaching simply starts with Akshara Brahma Paramam Swabhavotyatmam Uchyate Bhuta Bhavot Bhavakaraha Visarga Karma Sanyitaha. So it is sometimes a chapter is just called karma sannyasa yoga. So that's because it's just starts with sannyas sam karmanam Krishna sannyasam karmanam karma sannyasa yoga, 5th chapter. And but it talks about other things. So similarly in this chapter it's a misnomer, it's just a convenient name, but the real talk here in this chapter, most of the shlokas other than the first 4 are about prayana kala ishvara smaranam, remembering God at the time of death. So prayanam means a journey. Prayana kala means at the time of the journey of the sukshma shariram from this body. Ishvara smaranam means remembering God. So that is a better name for this chapter. What is the main concept discussed in the 8th chapter?
Saguna Saguna Nishkama Ishara Bhakti.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
the main concept discussed in this chapter is indirect liberation by what is called nishkama, means without any desires, saying, oh, I am worshiping God to get good money, to get a promotion or things like that. No, you don't have any desires. Your only desire is to get liberated, moksha, the ultimate infinite desire. All other desires are finite. So nishkama means without desires. Saguna means God with form, like Krishna. Ishvara Bhakti, or worship of God with form, and or the Ishvara Bhakti and Mukti. So liberation through unselfish worship of God with attributes. This liberation is called Krama Mukti. So this is what is talked about in the entire chapter. And what is Bhagavan? We'll see. What he is trying to say something. Bhagavan is trying to indirectly say something in this chapter. So Kama Mukti involves remembering God at the time of death, right? For this, one has to practice Saguna Ishvara Upasana for a long time, but is constantly think about God. What is Saguna Ishvara? God with form, like Krishna. Upasana is meditation. So you have to constantly think about God for a long time. Then, next step, Brahma means stages, sequence. One goes to Brahmaloka, attains the knowledge for liberation from Brahmaji himself, 24/7. You won't feel thirst, hunger, no headache, nothing, no sleepiness, and you get liberated. So it's an indirect and difficult path compared to Sadhyo Mukti, which is what is discussed in the 7th and the 9th. We'll see in the 9th chapter. It's instant liberation while alive. So, like instant noodles, instant liberation. So that's what is talked about in this chapter. Now, what are the two paths for mukti? Mukti means moksha, liberation, described in chapters 7, 8, and 9. Anybody?
I think you just talked about it, right?
Yeah.
It's the
Krama
Krama.
Mukti is Sadhya
Mukti.
Mukti.
Yeah.
So the two paths are Krama Mukti, which is stages. You go through multiple stages, whereas the other path is instantaneous liberation called Sadhya Mukti. We'll see that in the 9th chapter. Bhagavan will say, Susukam Kartum Avyayam. This is the easier path. So first you start with Sakama, Saguna, Ishvara Upasana. You go to your temple, pray to God, thinking you will get good health. All those are desires. Not now. Bhagavan doesn't say they are bad. Getting money, all those, everything is okay, but it's inferior because the infinite goal is liberation. Then Sakama becomes Nishkama. You stop asking for, I want money, I want promotion, I want good health. I just want to get liberated. Nishkama Saguna Ishvara Upasana. Then it comes to Kama Mukti is you remember God at the time of death, you go to Brahmaloka and you get Mukti. Whereas Nishkama Nirguna Ishvara Jnanam, which is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasanam, that is thinking about your nature as the same as the nature of the Brahman, that leads to a faster liberation.
So, question over here, Ganesh.
Yeah.
Where does Jiva Mukti come in here? Is which one would you say is
So
Jiva?
Jivan Mukti is it is liberation while alive.
So this both of this then is only after death, is it?
No. So here, liberation while alive, it is called Sadhyo Mukti or Jivan Mukti. So it is
Okay.
instantaneous liberation. So you are then living the rest of your life just to exhaust your karma, but you are already liberated. You are not going to get another birth. That's what they say.
So the karma gets exhausted while you're alive in the Sadhya Mukti. The karma gets exhausted after death in the Krama Mukti.
No, so there are subtle points. There are different types of karma. One karma is called the prarabdha karma.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then there is the other types of karma. So, prarabdha karma has already started,
Right.
and that you have to live through.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the future, all the other karmas which have not yet started, they're all burnt by the power of the knowledge. So, you will not have another birth. Once the prarabdha karma gets exhausted, your life is gone. So, you just live for the rest of the life. You get mukti just to exhaust the prarabdha karma because there is no escape around that.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Mhm. So the sanchita karma is the baggage stored, which is not started, and all those is destroyed by the knowledge. Okay. Then what is describe the procedure for krama mukti or liberation in stages as opposed to direct liberation? So this one is direct liberation. Anybody who wants to answer? We just saw that. Procedure for krama mukti.
So Saguna Ishvara Upasana for a long time.
Yeah.
Then remember Saguna Ishvara at the time of death.
Yes.
And then attain Krama Mukti, go to Brahmaloka, attain the knowledge, gain liberation.
Correct. So you have only if you remember something all the time at the time of death, because you are so tired, you will remember that. What Swamiji says is that it becomes part of your samskara. What you think constantly becomes part of your samskara. When it becomes part of your samskara, no effort is needed. It is just automatic. You will just think about that anytime. With it requires zero effort. That's why he says, if you want to think of me at the time of death, then think of me all the time in your life. Then you get to Kama Mukti, you go to Brahma Loka, attain knowledge, gain liberation. Why Bhagavan is saying all this is, he's saying this is a difficult path, Arjuna. It is a valid path, but it looks easy because you think you're worshipping a god with form and all that. No, worship the Nirguna Brahman. When Arjuna will ask, Avyakta hi gatir dukkam deha vidbir avapyate, isn't it so difficult? And Bhagavan says, yes, it may look difficult that you're worshipping the God without form, but if you understand that God without form is the same Atma inside you, when you meditate and see the observer, when you meditate and look at the thoughts in your mind, who is observing? That is the Atma. When you meditate that way through Shravana Manana Nididhyasanam, this is called meditation on the nature of the consciousness, then it becomes much easier. You get direct liberation.
So I just wanted to bring something that came up, something I was thinking about is like, in those days, I mean, things are changing now. They name the children after the names of the gods so that it's just part of this remembering, right?
Could be. Maybe that's true. Yeah. Okay. 8th question. Why is it important to remember Ishvara at the time of death according to Krishna? How can one train oneself to remember Ishvara at the time of death? We just saw that now. So basically, shloka 6, 7, and 8 in slides 25, 27, and 28 talk about it. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kale param tam tame vaiti kaunteya sadha tat bhava bhavitaha. Whatever a person thinks of at the time of death, that alone they attain, O son of Kunti, being ever absorbed in me. And then Bhagavan says, remember me at all times with your mind and intellect fixed in me, you will attain me alone. So if you remember me at all times, it becomes easier for you to remember me at the time of death. And he says, Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya paramam purusham divyam yati partanu chintayan. With a mind made steadfast by the practice of yoga, meditation, not wandering anywhere else, one who constantly thinks of the supreme effulgent Purusha reaches that Purusha at the time of death. So eventually you will reach that Purusha. So that's what Bhagavan says. Now back to 9th. So Krishna uses the 8th chapter. So I was telling you, right? Krishna has a subtle purpose about the 8th chapter. He uses this to show that the worship of Saguna Ishvara through Nishkama Bhakti, even though a preferred method of worship for most people, and it's indeed a legitimate method of worship, but it's a longer and more difficult path to gain liberation than Nishkama Nirguna Bhakti. So Krishna uses 3 shlokas to drive home the point. Which shlokas are they, and what is the implied message of Krishna in these shlokas? So it looks like a long question because I'm trying to tell the concept. Anybody wants to tell? So First is Shloka 10. Bhagavan says, he tells the difficulty. How do you remember at the time of death? So to go to Karma Mukti, not just remembering, you have to do some acrobatics. Prayana kale manasa chalena bhaktya yukto yoga bhalena chaiva bhruvor matye pranam aveshya samyak satam param purusham upaiti divyam. At the time of death, with a mind that is focused, having brought the prana to the middle of the eyebrows using the power of yoga and a steadfast devotion, that that person, he or she, attains the divine Purusha. And the same thing is talked about in the Kathopanishad also. So that is the first shloka. Then he talks about it in shloka 12 and 13, which are in slides 37 and 38. सर्पद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुद्य च मूर्त्याधायात्मनः प्राणम् आस्थितो yogadharanam. Having restrained all the sense organs and confining the mind to the heart, bring the mind into the heart. Heart is apparently where the Atma resides. Placing one's prana at the crown of the head and taking to yogic concentration. So all these are very difficult. So that's what Bhagavan is trying to say. And not just that, Omityekaksharam Brahma Vyaharan Mamanusmaran Yaprayatityajan Deham Sayati Paramam Gatim. And chanting the single syllable Om, which is Brahman, and thinking of me, one who departs the body, that person attains the supreme goal. So he's telling all this to show how difficult this Krama Mukti path is. The easier path is through Nirguna, Nishkama, Nirguna, Ishvara, Bhakti.
So, Ganesh,
Mm.
question for you.
Yeah.
Then, if you're on the path of yoga, why are we going through that path if Krishna is saying there is another easier path? What is the benefit of being a yogi or a yogini?
The benefit is, so the way Vedanta talks about it is, yoga will make it much more easy for your mind to get concentrated. So what you're in the other path, remember the slide that I put, let's go to that slide. Here, the Nishkama Nirguna Ishvara Jnanam, what it requires is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravanam is understanding, first listening to all the scriptures. Mananam is internalizing, understanding the meaning. And actually, Mananam is understanding the meaning. Nididhyasanam is internalizing. When you meditate, so this is different from the Upasana meditation. The meditation of Yoga Sutras is different from Nididhyasana, slightly different. In the meditation of the Yoga Sutras, your chitta vritti is gone. It becomes very still. And then with that, you can do all the samyama. So, it says on focusing on others' mind, you get the knowledge of their minds. Once the mind stills down, you can wield it like a torch and focus the light here, there, everywhere. So the end of yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. That is the start of nididhyasana, because then you can use the still mind to shine the light and say, oh, now I'm observing the thoughts. So I am different from the mind. So what am I? And this is how you go about nididhyasana. Understood?
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, so in the yogic path, when you do all of this process and you're aware of the death, right? And for samadhi, you're sitting in the position, not lying down, and then you release the energy through the crown chakra.
Mhm.
But in this process that Krishna is saying,
Yeah.
I think it's the death is like lying down death, right? And you're just thinking about Krishna.
Yeah.
So in the yogic process, do you go higher than Brahmalokam?
So yoga, they don't talk about all in the Yoga Sutras. They don't talk
We don't
about it.
talk about that. Yeah, right.
So we don't know.
We don't know. Okay.
Okay. In chapter 8, Bhagavan mentions two paths for human beings. What are the two paths and what is the implied meaning? It's actually a very important question because even in Kathopanishad it comes. So in the two paths are what Krishna calls Shukla Marga, that is the white path, the bright path, and Krishna Marga. Krishna means dark, on the dark path. Krishna it's symbolic. It's not bright light and dark. It means Krishna classifies all goals as twofold: spiritual goals that lead to liberation, material goals that lead to further bondage. This is talked about in the Kathopanishad. So, Anyat Shreyaha, Anyat Uktayeva Preyaha, Te Ube Nanate Purusham Sinitaha, Ube Sadhu Shreyas Adadanasya Sadhu Bhavati, Hiyate Hiyartat, Ya Preya Punite. So, Yama is telling Nachiketa there are two goals: Shreyas and Prayas. Shreyas, those who seek Shreyas become a sadhu and get liberated. Those who seek Prayas, it looks very glamorous, appetizing. The Shreyas often looks dull. To the external look, it looks dull, but the prayers looks very glamorous and appetizing. So people go for the prayers, but they get trapped back and back in samsara. So that is what Krishna is talking about too. Shukla Marga and Krishna Marga, the bright path that leads to liberation, God, the dark path, person will go to destination like heavens where there'll be pleasures, but after enjoying, one has to return. That's what Krishna is talking about. So now the prayers or the Krishna Marga, the dark path. Shukla means bright, Krishna means dark. The dark path is very appetizing, I told you. So our Shastras don't explicitly say, oh, you should not enjoy good food, all that. You should not enjoy good music. They're all part of it. But there are some doshas, defects of worldly pleasures. As long as you're aware of them, you don't get trapped by them. So what are the doshas, or the defects of the worldly pleasures? Anybody wants to answer?
They are temporary, and there is the other side. Pain is also associated with it. I
Yeah.
don't know if that means.
Dukkha mishritatvam. Mishra means mixed. It is mixed. It doesn't come as pure pleasure. It is always mixed with sorrow in many ways, because when you start enjoying, somebody may be jealous of you, or when you finish enjoying, there is the pain, the parinamatapa samskara dukkha gunavritti virodascha dukkhameva sarvam vivekinaha. In the Yoga Sutras, it says the wise know that parinama, after it's over, you get dukkham. Tapa, then you start thirsting for it. Tapa dukkham, samskara dukkham, then it becomes part of your nature to always crave, that you feel that you need something to make you happy, that you yourself are content in yourself, that you don't know. You see what I'm saying? So parinama tapa samskara dukkha guna vritti virodacha, due to the vritti of the gunas, and the wise know dukkhameva sarvam vivekinaha. Wise know even the birth, all to heavens, all those have dukkha because of this. So dukkha mishritatvam, the pleasure is mixed with sorrow, pain of acquisition, pain of preservation, and the pain of loss. Atriptikaratvam, nature of not providing total satisfaction due to finite nature. You cannot get full satisfaction. Bandhakatvam, enslavement by the finite pleasures. So these are the three reasons why worldly pleasures are defective. Krishna uses the example of even the post of Brahmaji, the creator, which is a very long span, as indeed finite, to illustrate the goal of reaching Ishvara is truly infinite. So any worldly desire, you want to go to heavens and become Brahmaji, the creator, even that is a finite desire. The goal of reaching Ishvara is infinite because there's no return. Even Brahmaji has to return one day to Bhuloka, apparently. In which loka does Krishna talk about this?
So, Ganesh, one question.
Yeah.
So in Krishna's model, is it the Shukla Marga or the Krishna Marga?
So in Krishna's model, so he wants everybody to go through Shukla Marga. So here the Shukla Marga can be indirect path to liberation, or it can be a direct path to liberation. That he doesn't say.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, so there's a lot of things you have to fill in.
So why does he mention Krishna Marga then? Like-
Because he tells everything, right? Krishna just means dark. It doesn't mean his marga.
Ah, okay. So if you don't follow any of this path, his model or the yogic path, then it's a Krishna Marga, he's saying.
Yeah, it does not refer to Krishna as a person. It just Krishna. The word Krishna literally means dark. Draupadi is called Krishna.
Okay.
It is not Krishna Bhagavan's path. So you have to understand things from the context. There are a lot of things in Sanskrit because it's a live language. Okay, in which shloka does Krishna talk about this? So he talks about it in shloka number 17. Sahasrayuga paryantam aharyat brahmano viduhu ratrim yuga sahasrantam teho ratra vido janah. Those intelligent people who know that a day of Brahmaji ends in 1000 Chaturyugas, a night of Brahmaji in 1000 Chaturyugas, they are the knowers of day and night. Because they know that even though it looks so long, it's still a day and night. It's still very small. And they also know that Brahmaji's life is finite. So these people are the smart people. And then in, let's see, slide 52. So Krishna, why is Krishna talking about Brahmaji's long life? Because Krishna says Brahmaji's life is very long because he creates so many times, but even that is finite. If you aspire to go to Brahmaloka and become Brahmaji, then even that is a finite goal. If you come to me, that is an infinite goal because it's no return.
So this kind of, I think, maybe like, so now, so when you're doing that upasana that he's saying, his model, whether
Yeah.
at the time of death or, all of the models. So he's saying then you'll go to Brahmaloka.
Yeah.
But then now he's saying that Brahmaloka is finite. So you will come back to bondage.
No. So if when you go through the process of Krama Mukti to Brahmaloka, you have a different aspiration. Your aspiration is to get liberated. Then Brahmaji will teach you and you will get liberated. But if you go through some other path, I want to enjoy, I'm going to do all the yajnas. So one day I go to Brahmaloka and I want to experience how creation is. I want to become Brahmaji. So you do a lot of punyam. Then you become Brahmaji. After I don't know how many millions of lifetimes. That's what Krishna is saying. It's a figurative speech. I don't know how many of us will become Brahma, but it's a figurative speech. In Vedanta, matter and beings are never created, neither created nor destroyed. They are just manifested as matter and beings during creation and unmanifested as Maya during pralayam or dissolution. In which two shlokas does Krishna illustrate this fact? So this is actually a very important point. In people say, "Oh, at pralayam, all our papams get destroyed. So then it's good for us because the sukshma shariram is resolved in pralayam. The sukshma shariram is the one in which all our papam imprint, everything is there. Does it mean we have to just commit all our sins? We have to be patiently waiting until pralayam and then things are taken care of? Is that what it means? No. At pralayam, the sukshma shariram gets resolved into karana shariram, and it's like a seed. It holds all the imprints, and then you get released based on your karma. You can become a plant, an insect based on your karma. So avyakta avyakta sarvaha prabhavantyah ragame ratyagame praliyante tatraivapyakta samyake. At the coming of the day, all manifest beings proceed from the unmanifested. Unmanifested is called Maya. There's also a higher unmanifested, that is the Brahman, but this is the Maya. Maya and Brahman are the two entities in the universe. Put together, this is called Ishvara, God. So the higher form of God is the pure Brahman, and the Maya is the one, it's the inert form which is responsible for matter, energy, all that stuff. At the coming of the night, they verily dissolved into what is called the unmanifested Maya. At the coming of the night means a pralayam. Then it's dark. And then day means creation. Start of day is creation, and then creation has been created, and the universe happens. And then he says, these are indeed the same multitude of beings which, having emerged again and again, dissolve at the coming of the night, and then helplessly come forth during the day. Bhuta kramasya vayam bhutva bhutva praliyate ratyagame vashapata prabhavatya haragame. So helpless, same beings which emerge again and again after creation. So very important point, very, very important point. So it is not random. It is based on one's karma. And its karma, it's infinite. It doesn't have a start, or we've been doing all these atrocities for time immemorial, and that's why we are here. Once we realize the true nature of who we are, Bhagavan says we get liberated. So that completes the Q&A for this chapter. I will stop the recording.